Hey everybody, welcome to a conversation on First Peter. We're in our 7th week of studying First Peter as a church, as a community, and this podcast is an opportunity for us to share a little bit about what we're processing before we even get to Sunday. So it's behind the message because the message is not complete at this point. It should be called Before the Message.
Yeah, before the message.
And Ty's with us.
So Ty.
Scott and Rachel are out of town, and they're the ones that usually carry the conversation. So I'm really interested to see how today goes. So, how's your morning been, Richard?
It's been a morning. Yeah. Northeast is busy, so coffee shop's good. How about you, Ty?
Less than both of your mornings.
Yeah.
I woke up, played with my toddler, came here, and everything for me was straightforward. I didn't have any side quest that popped up.
Just straight.
Yeah, just straight through.
I am in a season of side quest constantly.
Yeah.
And I don't like it.
Yeah, it's odd. Would you say, pre-Penelope, were you a morning person or a night person?
I'm naturally a morning person. Like, I wake up pretty easy. And if I didn't have the job I have now, I would go to bed early and wake up before the sun and do life that way. I like getting everything out of the way before lunch. That's like my best world.
Post Penelope, how has your sleeping habit changed?
Well, because with a job, I usually stay up later. But with Penelope, she gets up pretty dependable around 7. That's her. We have an hour, give or take. Usually
she sleeps
the other way.
every night.
She's a great sleeper. She's always been a good sleeper. Even when she was little, like she would sleep. Obviously they sleep in chunks at first, but she was always a great sleeper. It's the daytime that she fights.
What does that mean?
Well, she naps, but she doesn't want to.
Oh, she's on nap.
Yeah, she doesn't like to nap. So
yeah, because she always wants to know what's happening.
Oh, extreme FOMO.
And be involved.
Well, so we got a different bed frame. We finally got like a slat bed frame, and she heard us like assembling this bed frame and like wanted to know what was happening. Like, would not go to sleep until she knew what was going on. So this is her extreme FOMO. She always wants to know what's happening.
So on Sunday we're going to do a assessment of ease of life score on a chart. So everyone's going to participate on a chart. They're going to mark different age ranges of their life and ease of life score. Ease of life score for you, pre-Penelope and post-Penelope. How is it having a toddler impacted that?
It's impacted a lot. She's in this really awkward stage right now where it's like she's mobile enough and can do enough on her own. But it's like you can do enough on your own, but she also still has no sense of self-preservation. So
the stairs.
Yeah. So stairs. It's like she's not just gonna stay on the sidewalk. Has no sense of like space, anything like that. So this whole chart thing I was looking at it, I was like, it's like this chart is just gonna look like a nosedive for me. You're just gonna start like as like a baby, and like everything, like even if it feels hard, like it's just realistic. It's easy for you. You have people doing things for you, and it's just this nosedive of continually gets harder.
Does she get afraid? Is she afraid of things?
Less than she should be. She has a love for animals and especially like dogs, and so she'll like run up to dogs, and like that's like a big thing we're working on right now.
If
it's like
not friend, why friend shaped?
Yes, exactly. Yeah. She doesn't have a lot of stranger danger. Like she loves everyone. She'll ask, like if she's in a room long enough, she will become friends with everyone. If she sits in one of the coffee shops, she will make her way to every table. And then if she's given even more time, she will end up in someone's lap. That's just, yep.
It's kind of fun. I'm kind of impressed that Greg saw exactly where I was going with my questioning about Penelope and took it to the next question, because I think ease of life, right?
Yeah.
You said nosedive. I would say yes, except then when it hit my early 30s, it started to go back up again.
Oh, well, Well, there's hope for me then.
There's hope. There's hope.
Rich doesn't have a kid.
Yeah, true. And then,
Never mind. We're just hitting
well,
the cliff.
Penelope's gonna. And there's a new one coming.
Yeah. And we're just.
Give it a couple weeks.
Yeah. I don't. The next year of your life is not going to be easier.
No. No. The next 5 years, maybe when they're school age, things will get easier.
I feel like if I do it, it's pretty flat. Just overall, I just feel like the hard changes. Like it's just a different hard.
It's the most great thing I've ever heard.
I think looking back, it's also easier to look at your previous self and think it wasn't as hard as it was when you were in it.
Oh, that's hard.
Because you're like, oh, I got through it. It can't be that hard. But like when you are in a moment that is hard, it's easy for that to like fully encompass your whole reality.
Yeah.
And I think that's what Peter is writing to. He's going, hey guys, I know you feel like everything is overwhelming because it is.
Yeah.
But also, don't let it fully become who you are. Don't let it fully encapsulate your identity. Don't succumb to like easy ways to like compromise yourself or like to cope.
Mm-hmm.
Like how you cope with these things actually matters and makes a difference long term.
Yeah, I think the hard of life continues, but your capacity for things just grows. Because if you go through a hard thing, you end up learning that thing, and then you have that.
It's definitely less hard next time.
And then that thing is less hard next time, but there's other things that are hard, and then it changes.
Yeah.
But you gain more.
Yeah. Well, like new baby, there's a lot of stuff that was probably really hard with Penelope that won't be quite as hard this time. But there's probably also going to be other things that are different that are also hard.
I also have like the unique situation coming from a big family, and then most of my siblings are step siblings. So like I was 9 when my next closest in age brother was born. So like I've done a lot of baby stuff. So like yes, like you worry about your own kid, but I definitely worried a lot less than Rachel because that was like her first like baby experience. Like she's young, one of the younger siblings in her family. Mm-hmm. So I guess there'll be things that we worry about less, but it'll be different because like every kid is different. Mm-hmm. Their bodies are different. Everything's different. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm kind of maybe I'm mean, and part of this is like I have the experience of like my job is working with college kids, and a lot of like I have this catchphrase that I've developed. Rachel hates it.
I'm so excited for this
because my catchphrase is "It's not that hard." It's become my catchphrase of like I will get questions about things that are like it's not that hard. It's not that hard. And then also the one that the thing I always laugh at is because like we have for esports our teams have like required practices and then media days and different things like that, and people are like, oh, this takes so much time. I have like no time anymore, and I just laugh at that. I'm just
I would love it if I had required time that I need to sit down and play games with friends. Like that'd be so fun. Oh, required. So with all of that, what we're talking about, just looking forward, is the experiences that make you more selfish or more selfless. And Peter is talking about being selfless in the hard.
Yeah.
Essentially. Where's the scripture that I was gonna read?
I don't know.
I don't either.
Somewhere.
1 Peter 4:7-11. Everything in the world is about to be wrapped up, so take nothing for granted. And it says, stay wide awake in prayer and love each other as if your life depended. Peter is literally saying, hey, care for other people in the middle of the like just crappy hard stuff. Care for people. Mm-hmm. And I think it ties into everything we've talked about every week in Peter is be like Jesus. It's in the same way. Be like Jesus. Hey, yeah, it's hard. Be like Jesus. Hey, then the next season, it's still hard. Love people like Jesus did. Like, be like Jesus. And I think that, I don't know, it's hard. And actually, here, the question we're going to ask on Sunday. why is prayer and loving other people beyond value, because that's what Peter says, and why is being selfless in life's most difficult moments?
I think the thing that I always think about is that like this faith thing, relationship with Jesus thing. If you're in it because of what you get, then to me, this is speaking to myself, not to others, but like if I'm in it for only what I get, then it's not real. Like it's transactional. And I think that's also true in like relationships. Like if you're only friends with somebody because of what you get from them, it's not real. It's not a real friendship. And so you have to have a selfless posture in relationship and in faith. You have to be willing. I hope all my deep relationships that I am willing to give more than I get. And like part of that is like not keeping score. Like we were talking about it earlier. I don't remember when we were talking about it, but like with Dick and prayer on Sunday or Tuesday morning in our prayer group, Dick was talking about heaven and hell a little bit, and I was like, honestly, if heaven's not real, it doesn't change how I live my life. Like if my understanding of like I get this afterlife, whatever. If it just ends when I die, it doesn't change how I live my life. And it's because my faith isn't based on what I'm going to get at the end. At least I hope it isn't. I think there's moments where that is a reality, but like I really think like it's important to live selfless. Selfless is the key to that.
Yeah, I think a lot of Christian traditions have, especially the more modern ones, have really centered themselves around the idea of the afterlife, the idea of heaven, hell, soul, all that, which I think Scripture speaks to the value of that. But Scripture has a lot more to say about the day-to-day, the mundane, the normal. I think that's really impacts the way that we live and the way that we work. I think if we have this view that the most important thing is only the Christian-y things, we devalue boring things, normal things. I think Scripture has a lot more to say about boring, normal things, families, friends, jobs, all those things than it does to say about the special, unique moments.
Yeah.
I think so.
I like to interpret the Matthew 28, go and make disciples. As you are going, make disciples. As you go about your daily life, like in everything you do, live like Christ, so as to impact people like a disciple would. So I think that you're right. Everything speaks to what would be considered the mundane, because people are so looking for the extraordinary.
Yeah.
One of the pastors, good friend of mine that in college he was my pastor. He'd always share like the burning bush story and Moses taking off his sandals, and he would always say he didn't like take off his sandals because all of a sudden the ground became holy, but because he actually had recognition that this moment was holy. And I think that's so true in life. Is like the mundane moments. Those are the holy moments. It's not some like crying at an altar moment. It's the moment where you sit with a coffee and you just have a good conversation, or somebody serves you a plate of food that just like makes you really happy. Like those are all like there's a spiritual surprise God at work in those moments.
I got to speak at Trail Lake Camp last week, and I tell every single group that I speak to, like, when you're at camp, God is not more present there, but you are more present. You are pulled out of your everyday, and you're expecting it. So in that moment, it's the noticing of, oh, this is important. This is
But and speak to that is that one of my college professors, I messaged him a couple months ago. He's doing all sorts of cool things. He's in a different part of the world. He's helping run a business, but for sign language interpreting. But I messaged him because I was like, I know that you were just doing your job, but it's really impactful on me and in the way that I view the world. And I think that's just like the thing. It's like he was just doing his job. He was just doing what he was being paid to do. But because of our interactions, because of the relationship that we developed over, the 3 years that I got to work with him, something where it's really been impactful on the way that I see work and people around you and feedback and the way we talk and all those things. So, he had a huge impact on me. He was just doing um, he was doing God's work in normal moments that he probably wouldn't have looked at as holy moments, but they definitely were. And yeah, I think that's that. Especially into this question is why is it important? It's because you never know when the normal thing you're doing, the loving, the prayer, is going to be that holy moment for someone that's going to make a bigger difference than what feels like just normal.
Yeah, I always feel like the number one job of a pastor is to call out when they see Christ at work in them and around them. I love those moments. This morning, I have coffee with somebody who she's going through a tough moment, but she was sharing about her work, and she works she's like a property manager, very entry level, getting people experiencing homelessness off the streets. They're like the first, other than a shelter, they're like the first long term stay option for people. And she's just sharing about the hard things, but also the cool things that she's seen. And just a cool opportunity to be able to speak that's such important work. You're doing you're God's hands and feet in the world and what you're doing. And it is so important. And I know you go to the office every day and you deal with difficult people and hard moments and hard situations, and you can get frustrated. But man, it's so important. It's so important for people.
Yeah. No, this is good. I think this conversation really just learning to value the season you're in, learning to value big and small moments, but then also in those moments learning to look outside of yourself. It's definitely harder in the midst of struggle because that pain really draws attention inward, but something to practice.
I also feel like it releases the pressure to or solve all the problems when you're just I feel like as a Christian, as a pastor, whatever, you can see all the issues in the world, and then you're just at a loss. Everybody's stupid. This is hard. I'm struggling. I can't solve anything, but to be able to sit in that and still see where God's at work, and also not get mad that God's not at work in the way that you think He should. Those are fun. Those are good and important things to wrestle with. And I think the people Peter's writing to, they could blame God. They could say, if we're God's people, then why are we experiencing X, Y, and Z? And Peter's no, that's not the perspective. That's not. Let's shift your perspective. Perspective changes everything.
For sure.
Wrap us up, Rich. Let's be done with this.
I mean, it's the Scott would be very happy if I mentioned this, but I've been thinking about someone mentioning it anyway. But in the selfless that we're talking about, in the journey, in the hard stuff, in the valuing every day, if we all in the body cared for everyone in the selfless way, then we're all cared for. That's the thing is care for those around you, and your calling is to do that. And if we all do that, we're all cared for. And that's what the body is. So I just think in the midst of struggle, in the midst of the hard, valuing where you're at and caring for others. That's it.
Yeah.
Let's do it. Be like Jesus.
See you next week for week 8.